now to meet up with Professor Chidiebere Ontia and to talk about, well, the long-standing, shall we say, civil disobedience in the south and southeast of the country. This whole sit at home on Mondays number that has been actually withdrawn by the leader of the proscribed IPOB. This has been withdrawn. But another member of IPOB, Simon Ekpa, has continued to issue orders that these things should be that way, even as Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has said that it has been abrogated. So we'll meet up with Professor Chidiebere Ontia. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you very much thank you very much, Prof, for making time for us. Now, you are most concerned with the effect on the economy of this, among other things, but surely the economy. And it's not necessary anymore, even if it was before, because as you know, the leader of the proscribed IPOB has said that it's not from him, but some people from within his own group are saying, no, listen to us. How does the government see it? And what does the government want to say about the wastage of continuing with this, don't come out, don't open your shops, don't go to your businesses on Monday?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Good morning again.
Yes.
I think for us, we're concerned really around something that is not representative of us as a people will become the norm because of the noise coming from certain sectors, non-state actors. So our push really is simple. How do we work very intentionally to bring back the economy of the Southeast, specifically Enugu State, in line with His Excellency Dr. Peter Mbah's vision for Ndi Enugu? And it's very clear there's no way we are going to do that if we continue in this direction where there seems to be a lot of noise, a lot of confusion within the public space in terms of what direction and who actually is the authority figure in the state. And what His Excellency has done is to remove that confusion, to make it clear that there's one elected authority in Enugu State, and that authority is mandated to safeguard the lives of Ndi Enugu and also to ensure that Enugu State is an attractive place for investors to come in and invest, for us to be able to meet our growth target, which is to move Enugu State from a 4.4 GDP to a 30 billion US dollars GDP over the next 4 to 8 years.
Yes.
And to do that, we must have to make sure that we de-risk a few things to ensure that the pipeline of projects we're going to present out there are bankable to potential investors.
Now, the non-state actors that we've mentioned already, is government helpless before them because of how they are able to intimidate the whole environment, sometimes reportedly even killing some people, and so the people are actually scared. So how about the security? What can be done if government isn't exactly helpless before these people who have been denounced by the very people they say that they are supporting? Can government, what is the difficulty in government moving and telling these non-state actors that this is not on?
So this administration is definitely not helpless. Very clear that we're not, and His Excellency has been very clear on what to do to address this non-state actor nuisance in the way we conduct business in the Southeast and specifically in Enugu State. And I'll share some thoughts with you.
Sure.
So I think what we started was to ensure that this was a collaborative process, keeping in mind that there's been 22 months of engagement with people that have no mandate to tell people in Enugu State or the region what to do. So there's been a 22 months lapse in terms of the communication and taking a firm stand. That ended when this governor came in and decided to engage stakeholders across the board. First, he started with ensuring that every single block, from the market unions to the transport workers to organized labor to private sector groups to banks, teachers, the medical practitioners across the board. We had extensive engagements with them, and everybody came up with one resolution that they're tired of this whole non-sit-at-home nuisance and the implications for our competitiveness as a region, the implications to us, just from a psychological point of view, where people begin to look at productivity from a minimalist point of view. He engaged with them, and to do that also, he understood and listened to the people that security was a major issue. So he reconstituted back the Security Council, and there was a meeting ahead of even this announcement, and that was that His Excellency was working very closely with all the security outfits in Enugu and in Abuja to ensure that we provide adequate security in different areas. So what he didn't do was adopt the old approach, which was just boots on the ground, uniformed policemen. He worked with the people to ensure there was also an integration of intelligence to preempt rather than to react. So that's what notice that throughout this, there's been no incident, because we're working diligently to ensure that we protect the people of Enugu State to begin to minimize that whole fear factor that has been there over the last couple of months. So there's been extensive work done in security. There's a rapid response team. You will see presence of policemen across strategic points in the state, not just in the center, but also in the local governments. We're working with local government chairmen, town union leadership. So we took it to the grassroots, traditional rulers, to make sure that there's a cohesion and there's a buy-in. So people take ownership of the process. That's what His Excellency set out to do. So it's not just a lion-building declaration, but it's one that everybody sees the value in, and everybody's working intentionally to restart our economic base, which is what we need to do as a state.
Well, thank you very much, Prof, for that quite all-encompassing explanation. Mazi Okoroafo in Arochukwu, you've been waiting for quite a long while the Secretary to the Government made his point. Thank you for that. Now, please go ahead, Mazi.
Yeah, good morning, Sanyo. Good morning, my brother in the studio. You see, I would like the government, Eastern Nigeria, Southeast, to leave the symptoms of this sit-at-home, go and find out the causes. Now, why am I saying that? First of all, let me thank the governor of Enugu State. He has tried. I think it's need for the governor, at least those shops that was locked, whether they say 100 and something, at least by now I must have opened their door, but I don't know, but record can show. The school exams, the government has to be very, very tactical and make sure that this issue is cancelled forever. Because it affected the students that did their exam, WAEC, NANAPTEC, and even NECO that is going on. It affected many of them. It's psychologically. The 12% of them face when they are going to write the exam, they say that this is a very big problem. So there is need for the government of Eastern Nigeria to go back and look for the traditional rulers, parents, religious leaders, the elites. They should be called to sit up so that this thing should be eradicated. Do you?
Well, okay, Mazi Okorafo, thank you very much for that. Prof, I don't know if you care to react to his suggestion. Professor Ontia?
Yes, I missed you for a minute. Could you repeat that, please?
Okay, I said, now that you've heard Mazi Okoroafo, who called in from Arochukwu, did you have any rejoinder to what he suggested?
Actually, his suggestion is part of our strategy. We've been able to engage all the stakeholders as mentioned and continue to engage them, church leaders, traditional rulers, and people that are of value to influence the decision of the regular Southeastern, and in our own case, the regular Enugu State citizen. So it's a collaborative process, and we do agree with him. It's something that we're doing. And the leadership of Dr. Peter Mba is very clear that this is not a lone process. This is a collaborative process. But in also doing that, there's clearly one government in Enugu State, and that is the government under his leadership.
Okay.
And to the point he made earlier about the shops, yes, the shops have been opened, the ones that have met the requirements, but it's important to note that this is a partnership again. You remember I had mentioned the market leadership and the market groups. Our action in following through is not something that was punitive, but it's something that will encourage those that have opened to continue to stay open, because the main reason that they had given earlier was security, and we have provided adequate security, within the state to ensure that people that want to go to the market, citizens that want to go to the market to shop, can go to the market knowing that the shops are open. And that's also understanding that the government is going to provide security for them to be able to carry on with their regular activities, which is what the governor has constantly mentioned in different settings, that this is really important, that people feel comfortable.
Indeed.
And if they don't do that, if citizens are not feeling comfortable to come out, then how much more an investor that is coming into the state, how would they feel that Enugu State is competitive if people are going to work 4 days in a week? This is something that is an anomaly for us.
Indeed.
And something that the governor is very determined that he's going to make sure that we stop. But in doing that, it has to be collective, and that's what he's been doing, working with all stakeholders. Even as of yesterday, if you had seen your clips, your reporters would have shown you that Enugu State is active. Today, it's been, whatever declaration has been ignored, people are moving around their businesses and there's adequate security. Well, people are taking ownership of this process, and not just something that is being directed, but something that they say they're going to do. Youths are coming out and demonstrating and saying that we're tired of being forced to sit at home. The gentleman that spoke talked about exams and all that. How can students be competitive when one day of every week that they should focus on rigorous curriculum, issues, be sitting at home and playing soccer?
Okay.
This is not something that this region is known for. So it's a collective process, but it's a gradual one to bring people away from what they have been used to, over a couple of months.
Okay.
And Dr. Peter Mba's administration is very, very focused on addressing that. And we are achieving success, and everybody can see that. We're ignoring the noise, and we're focusing on really to deliver for the people, all that he has set out to do in his manifesto.
Okay.
The days that
I
he has
believe,
set out, we're working diligently.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. But Tony in the UK has been waiting. He wants to come into the conversation.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Chidiebere. I like your program. Hello, are you hearing me?
Please go ahead, Tony. Continue. Continue, Tony.
You see, when a child is crying, he's crying for something. Since the agitation of Kano issues, you can see, and Nigerians know about it. There are things when something is happening in the region, that's a way to sort it out. Something like infrastructure, building schools, doing some other things, making all these things available. What people are crying for, the people, the region, whatever is their problem. You look at it and start solving them immediate. And that will give them hope that, these people that neglected them, they now accept them, they have now heard them, they now seen what they are agitating for. And it's everything I'm having.
Okay, Tony. Sorry to butt in, Tony, but thank you very much for calling in with that point. Professor Ontia will now respond to it because we are running out of time. Prof.
So Tony, good point. It's important to know that this is what the government of Dr. Peter Mba is focused on doing. The only way we can build on infrastructure, improve our infrastructure, is if we're able to crowd in resources. So our investment outlook will help us crowd in private capital to address our infrastructural need, and also help us, get revenue back to invest in improving our educational sector, our medical sector, and other areas that people have been clamoring for. But it's important that we delineate the two arguments, one about infrastructure need and criminality. What we are dealing with is criminality. This is not a voice of the people where they are clamoring for these things. These things are people using fear to cause harm on their own brothers and sisters, and I'm not sure how that has to do with the root cause of the issue around sit at home. So it's important that we delineate, separate both conversations so we don't mix them and people get confused. Infrastructural need is important. That's what this government is set out to do. Dr. Peter Mba has set actually a plan with days, which is something that is not common in governance in Nigeria. He set days, hard days, for very difficult infrastructure delivery, and he's working diligently to achieve that. But the only way we can also do that is if we allow the economics of growth in Enugu to take place without people trying to undermine it through the economics of fear, because some people are benefiting from others being scared and sitting at home.
All right,
so
then.
He's very clear that he understands both arguments, and he's working very intentionally to ensure that the infrastructure needs in Enugu State, the economic environment for investors, is clearly conducive so that that ecosystem of growth is put in place. And
Okay.
if we don't
Prof,
do that,
I beg your pardon, Prof. I'm so sorry to interrupt you, Prof, but we've completely run out of time. But I do want to thank you, Professor Chidiebere Ontia, Secretary to the Enugu State Government, for coming on our program this morning to sort of encourage us, as it were, that the matter is very, very much in hand in Enugu, and the people are gradually overcoming their fear and are coming out because the government is doing its best to support whoever wants to go to the market, go to his business upon a Monday. Thank you very much once more, Professor Ontia, for coming on the program.
Thank you.